Hey, nerdy sports fan here. Week 6 NFL action, and we're getting into Philly versus Minnesota. Now, Minnesota's had some turmoil. 2 weeks ago, Kirk Cousins got called out by Adam Thielen and Brandon Cooks as being, well, generally terrible. And he responded last week. Didn't have to do much responding because he was going against the Giants, and they're terrible. But a win's a win, any port in the storm, right? But they're not winning on the arm of Kirk Cousins. They're doing well because of the defense and the running game. And it's something we all should have seen coming based off of what the coaching staff looks like now, and Kubiak being heavily involved in everything now as a consultant, and I think his son is on the coaching staff. It's very much the run-centric West Coast offense that is all the rage right now with Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan. I mean, it's high-powered, but it's run-centric. So Brandon Cooks is the engine that drives this offense. So as much as Thielen wants to complain about Kirk Cousins, yada, 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 this team will live and die based off of how well the running game operates. Now, Thielen is right. Kirk Cousins making mistakes that he isn't going to win you games. He's just not as important as he was last year to this offense. That's all. So they're going up against Philly, a team that's very much finding its stride right now. Philly is a very deep, very talented roster. They've won a recent Super Bowl, and they have really, this has gone under the radar, but Carson Wentz is one of the top-rated, if not the top-rated quarterbacks in the league right now, according to prognosticators like Pro Football Focus and general next-generation stats like QBR and things of that nature. He's very, very, very effective, and we knew that Wentz was going to develop. The worry with him is whether or not he's got the chutzpah in really tight situations and playoff time like they got out of Nick Foles. So he's still going to be living in the shadow of Nick Foles until he wins deep into the playoffs and probably a Super Bowl. So we'll see how that pans out for the rest of his career. But he's definitely the superior quarterback in this matchup. And yeah, Minnesota's got the better receiving core, largely because of Philly's receiving core injuries, but they don't use the receiving core that much. They're again, run-centric. So Thielen's getting his looks. I said Brandon Cooks either. That's not right. It's Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs is not really getting his. He's been demanding a trade. Probably not going to get it. And there's some rumors swirling around Buffalo that he was being traded to them. But I'm sure there's rumors swirling around 5 or 6 other cities that he's being traded to you guys as well. So don't believe the hype. He's staying right in Minnesota. They might move him in the offseason before the draft. There's not a lot of value in Stephon Diggs in this offense. And he's going to want to be more a part of things. That's generally the way receivers work. Yeah, winning's nice, but winning when they're actually contributing is what they want. So he's going to want to go to a more up-tempo offense. I expect him to be traded, and I don't know where the hell he's going to land. He's probably going to want to go to someplace like Houston or Kansas City that's got a good young quarterback and an open offense. But those teams have receivers already, so there might not be much of a market for the guy. They're going to see what they can get. For now, he's been supremely devalued in fantasy football because being the second target in an offense that really doesn't throw anywhere near as much as they did last season isn't a really good thing. He's a wide receiver 3 or a flex option at best these days. Thielen's still a good option as a wide receiver 1 to 2 most weeks because he's the number 1 target. Now, on the Philly side of things, once this receiving core gets fully healthy, they'll be different. But Deshaun Jackson, at his age, you're never really sure if he's going to be full strength the remainder of the year at all. Even though, coming back into the lineup is very, very likely, what kind of Deshaun Jackson are you going to have? Alshon Jeffrey's come back, and when he was asked about being fully ready to go, he said, I can play. That's not exactly resounding sort of news from him on his injury status. He's toughing it out. And he's still the most talented guy available on the team. So he's going to get his targets. He's going to get action going his way from Carson Wentz because he's just a big, strong, physical guy that runs good routes. And even him at 60 or 70%, whatever capacity he's at right now, he's still better than Nelson Aguilar, So I think Philly's a complete team. They've got offense, they've got defense. They're finding their stride. Jordan Howard is getting much more involved in this offense. I thought he would have been more involved earlier on. I actually put him as my number 8 fantasy running back going into the season, and I'm starting to stand by that because they're starting to use him a lot more, and just working in the rookie Miles Sanders. They're just leaning on those running backs a lot more in this offense. They're forced into it, but that's what they need to do. That's the strength of their roster right now, and it'll allow them to be much more multiple later in the season as people get healthy. So Minnesota's got the better defense. Philly's got the better offense. I think Philly's got the better coaching staff. I think Philly has the better quarterback. So Minnesota's a 3-point favorite. I don't buy it. I think on the road, Philly hands Minnesota their first home loss. I think they did really, really well against Green Bay on the road, and Green Bay is better than Minnesota. So unless they really drop the ball in meetings and they just don't have the fire coming into the game and they don't really put the effort in, I don't see a reason for Philly to lose this game. They've beaten tougher people, and that's the most part of my reasoning. But Minnesota's defense is not better than Green Bay's right now. They're very, very strong, but they're not better. And Philly was able to run the ball all over Green Bay. I don't see that being a problem with Minnesota. It may be lessened a bit, but Carson Wentz will be able to make up for that lesser running attack by throwing the ball to people like Zach Ertz. Fantasy football-wise, I think this is a Zach Ertz kind of game. He will be the release valve, and Wentz is going to be under pressure a lot. I do think Jordan Howard is the running back to own in Philly, fantasy-wise, and I see him as a solid flex option. He's not a 1 or 2 at all against a defense like this. I know he had a success against Green Bay, but you can't count on that level of success against solid defenses all the time. I think Alshon Jeffrey is a wide receiver 3 to flex, just because he's not peak healthy. Zach Ertz is going to be the primary receiving target. On the Minnesota side of things, Brandon Cooks start all day, all the time, just because this offense is going to create opportunities for him regardless of the defense they're going against. This has been a very, very successful offense, producing strong running attacks regardless of who they go against. I see no reason for that to stop. Adam Thielen's the only target in this offense worth carrying because he's the only one consistently getting targets. Kirk Cousins is kind of a joke. He's going to be good one week, terrible the next, much like the Jameis Winstons of the world. Maybe a streaming play, but there's better options. So he's not a fantasy start right now. He probably won't be the rest of the season because of how the offense is working. Obviously, I think that you should put your money down on the Eagles because the Vikings are favored and I'm picking the Eagles to win. So hit me up in the rest of the videos to see what you should do with your fantasy teams, and check out Nerdy Sports Fan Weekly for my take on the Joker movie that I checked out this weekend.